Still inside the first half an hour of the 90-minute SportsMax zone for this Friday, and we're sticking with football, but jumping across now to South American World Cup qualifiers, as table toppers Brazil were on the road but kept their unbeaten run intact thanks to a 64th minute strike from Everton Ribeiro as they clipped Chile by 1-0 in Santiago. Argentina were the heaviest winners on the night as they easily dispatched bottom of the table Venezuela by 3-1, leaving Argentina and Brazil as the only unbeaten teams in the group. These are the other results on the night. Of course, we are dealt with the earlier matches on Thursday's show. Bolivia 1-1 with Colombia, Ecuador 2-0 over Paraguay, and Peru 1-1 with Uruguay. Those were the early matches on the day. And there's the table at the moment. Brazil, perfect from 7 matches, 21 points. Argentina second on 15. Ecuador third on 12, Uruguay fourth on 9, Colombia also have 9 but with an inferior goal difference. Paraguay, Chile and Bolivia fill the next spots, and Peru and Venezuela at the bottom of the table at the moment. So if the qualifiers would end now, Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador and Uruguay would be the 4 teams advancing directly to the Qatar World Cup finals, and Colombia would be in a playoff spot with an inter-confederation battle to get to the World Cup. But a lot of football still left to be played in CONMEBOL. Juan Arango still with us to discuss what happened in those South American qualifiers. I know you were busy with CONCACAF duties, Juan, but a keen student of South American football as well. Brazil continuing to look, unstoppable at the top of the table, even though they were missing so many players because they were stuck in England.
Yeah, I mean, it was, unstoppable but unimpressive, as many have categorized it. But I mean, it's shocking to think about it. You start doing the math, and Brazil could qualify for the World Cup next month.
Yes.
In the next 3, that group of 3 matches, based on the result that Ecuador were able to have against Paraguay. A significant cushion that Brazil have. Many are already saying that Argentina could probably be in a very similar position going into the next group of matches in October. So, again, Brazil didn't look impressive, weren't a team that were extremely mind-blowing. I mean, if someone would have told me that was Brazil yesterday, you'd be like, no, you're kidding, right? But they did just enough, and it was funny to see Neymar after the match go to social media and start criticizing all the people that had bashed him and the rest of the team prior to this match. Said, hey, were we pretty? No. Was it Jogo Bonito? No. Did we win? Yes. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, to be fair to Brazil, they were missing like 9 of their regular starters in the roster, so I don't think last night would have been a good night to be hard on them. They got the result.
Right. You're absolutely right. Just that Brazil ends up having that type of criticism regardless of who you play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the unfair part of it. And when you start to sometimes talk sense to people in that particular aspect, then they kind of dismiss you with it.
Yeah, I've long felt that Brazil, as far as depth of quality, is way ahead of a lot of other countries in world football, because it's so much of a culture there. In the same way that, not now, but maybe 40 years ago, and a little boy in the Caribbean would dream of becoming a West Indies cricketer. That's how Brazilians feel about football, and it shows, because there's so much football running through their veins, and there's a lot of talent there. But Argentina were, as we said, the biggest winners on the night. 3 goals they scored. No Messi goals though, but there was a moment we were told, I didn't see it myself, that Messi was the victim of a very reckless challenge that could have hurt him badly.
I think it would have been more of an on-pitch amputation more than actual little clash that he suffered. And the funny part here, I mean, funny from a perspective of being facetious and I guess skeptical, is that the referee was in front. Nothing happened. He called a foul, yeah. Or not even that, he gave advantage. VAR had to call him, say, hey, by the way, I think you would like to check that challenge out once again. You see where the referee's right there, top of your screen?
Yes.
And he saw it clear and concise right there. Play on.
Yeah, that was a pretty reckless looking step with studs and so on.
Oh, absolutely. And he had just come on 2 minutes before that because of the player that ended up getting injured. The left back for Venezuela that ends up getting injured. He comes on 2 minutes later, he gets sent off. So grand opening, grand closing for him.
Yeah, I think some measure of a quick reaction there from Messi, who was sort of skipping out of the danger, and maybe that contributed to him not being more badly hurt.
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing. They've said that was probably one of the hardest, toughest challenges that he suffered in his career, and he suffered some, throughout his career that you can pretty much remember. That one was up there.
Yeah.
But you start to see a different Argentina side. Yesterday was one of those days where you saw a different Argentina side that had a tremendous amount of weight lifted off their shoulders after winning the Copa America. A team that had more fluidity, a team that was better, whether you had 11v11 or 11v10. They were the better team overall in that match in Venezuela. And it just looked like they were exactly that. They were a team. It wasn't anymore, hey, let's see where Messi is so he can make something happen. It's, I'm going to do this so I can help Messi out in this. I want to go. When he had been challenged a couple of times, when he had been thrown on the ground and a couple of Venezuelan players were trying to get in his face, you saw a couple of his teammates come in, step in right beside him and start backing him, something that you really did not see in previous renditions of this Argentine national team.
Yeah, and of course, Lance has set us up really well by talking, introducing the points about Brazil, how they played, and of course, Argentina, how they played, because on Sunday, it's going to sort of be a rematch of the Copa America final, where we know that Argentina advanced. Do you see the same result happening on Sunday?
That's a very good question. And it's different now because you have a team that is coming in with blood in its eye in Brazil, that didn't have a very good match against Chile, and an Argentina side that is very freewheeling, very, relaxed. You notice it in practice. You notice it in their vibe. You notice it when they're playing, that each and every one of these Argentine players doesn't have that weight that they did before, that it was like, oh my God, that the jersey actually weighed a ton on them. To me, it would probably end up being a draw, in my opinion. But I think that'll be able to suffice for these two teams because they know that what lies ahead is probably more important. And if they're able to get a result over the other at this stage, maybe it's not the most important thing. Obviously, a rivalry of this nature is always important. But if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't change much as far as the direction that they're both heading.
Yeah, and as we continue our build up to that big match of the weekend, because I know everybody will be looking forward to this. It's revenge Brazil is coming for, and Argentina would want to, of course, continue that winning streak against Brazil. Do you feel it will be easy to upset Brazil at home? Will it be a walk in the park?
No, it's not going to be a walk in the park, especially they're playing in Itaquera over at Neoquímica, which is the home of Corinthians. So, yeah, it's not going to be a walk in the park. And it was very clear from the Brazilian press that this match matters to them. Like I said before, is it going to change a lot? If we go into the World Cup and both teams go deep, are you going to remember how they ended up doing in this particular match? Probably not, unless they face off once again in a World Cup semifinal or something along those lines. But it's going to be very difficult. They know what's up against them. They know that they can't lose to Argentina twice. They also know that Argentina, if they're able to get a draw, it ends up being the best result for everyone. And obviously, if Brazil are able to win, that puts them even one step closer to automatically qualifying.
Yeah, and the Colombia-Paraguay game could be a very important one as well, because Colombia at the moment are occupying that interconfederation playoff spot. Mm-hmm. And Paraguay are just behind them. So the result there, from a positioning standpoint, pretty important, yes, especially for Paraguay to get a result.
Very important for Paraguay to get a result. Very important for them to get a result. So pretty much that upper half doesn't end up separating from the lower half, because that's a very distinct possibility if Colombia are able to get a win against the Albirroja.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Colombia were winning against Bolivia in La Paz. And the titles in every single newspaper in Colombia were this: bittersweet point. They thought that they had that match, but Bolivia was able to equalize, and towards the end, of course, it got a little rough around the edges for Colombia. But still getting a point out of La Paz in the context that most of these national teams are playing in, it's not a bad result. It's not a terrible result. It's not a great result either. But still, as long as you're adding points, as long as you're accumulating points, especially away from home, as we talked about in the last segment, it's very important for Colombia, knowing that what they have ahead at home is going to either make or break their campaign.
Juan G Arango will be checking in with you next week, Monday, I'm pretty certain, to recap what happened in South American qualifying over the weekend and CONCACAF as well, because a lot of action coming up on the weekend. The South American qualifiers, of course, live on the home of champions, and that Brazil-Argentina match will be one to look out for on Sunday. Thanks, Juan.
Absolutely.
Still to come on the SportsMax Zone, the Jamaica Premier League football update, plus our daily CPL review. And we also tell you what happened when Shakira Richardson met some big guns at the Brussels Diamond League today.